welcome to Rise Zion. Today, I'm interviewing my brother Ethan again, who served his mission in Latvia. And he has a very interesting story to tell us about a possible miracle. It's speculative. We are not saying that this is 100% accurate, but it makes you wonder sometimes.
The story's accurate. The story's
Yes,
accurate. Maybe the interpretation's not
right.
accurate.
That's what I meant to say. Yes. So,
Yeah.
Where were you during this time in your mission?
All right. So, as I mentioned before, there are three main cities that Latvian missionaries are called to serve in: Riga, the capital; Liepāja, which is to the west, a little coastal city; and then Jelgava, which is kind of central Latvia. It was a big factory and farming district back in the day. It's not anymore. This story takes place in Liepāja. I was serving in the north area of Liepāja. And nice little coastal city. We had an apartment right on the beach. I lived there for like a year. It was really amazing.
This was your favorite area, if I remember right.
Yes. It's hard to choose favorites. It's kind of like a kid, but
yeah.
but yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed Liepāja. Just the members, culture there, the environment was just amazing.
It was kind of like Old Town, like before the commies came in and destroyed everything. It was a nice area.
And there still were communist areas. In fact, there was a communist base to the north called Karosta that was abandoned, but it still existed, and we would go there on preparation day to kind of go through all the ruins and things like that. It was really interesting.
Yeah,
more historical area, but there was still, but the main city itself was very quaint, kind of small town feel, right on the ocean, or sea, I guess, not the ocean.
Now, just for everybody who's watching, which sea was that?
The Baltic Sea.
The Baltic. That was a very cold sea.
It was very cold, and obviously missionaries don't go swimming, but in the summer, very temperate, and being by the sea as well in the winter, it wasn't quite as cold as being further inland. So it was just a nice area. Really enjoyed it.
All right. So what happened in this experience?
All right. So this took place in early January of 2013.
Yeah.
And it was a preparation day. It was a Monday because we had just barely spent part of our day with the other elders. We had been at the church, maybe played ping pong, and had gone on a tram. Something that we did pretty frequently was seeing hymns on the trams. And I don't know that the people ended up liking that, but that's kind of why we'd been together at the time. And then we decided to split up at some point. So actually, even though we had served in the north, that was our area, we were kind of in the south in the other elders area. The city was a long strip along the coast. And so the main tram line went north to south, basically in the entire way. So you could get on maybe like in the center of town, go north, and then go completely south as well. At this point, we had gone basically as far south as you could on the tram. And so we had decided to split up. Preparation day ends at, I think, 6 o'clock, if it's still the same. Then you'd kind of proselyte or have lessons for the rest of the day. And so the other elders had gotten off the tram in their area to go and knock doors in an area with a bunch of apartment buildings. And me and my companion continued up this tram line up to the north area into where we were supposed to proselyte. We got a call maybe 10 minutes into this ride, trying to get into this new area, or into our area, from the elders. They called us and were like, "Elder, we just went into a building and we went into the elevator and it stopped. It's stuck. We're in between floors and we can't get out." And
I'm sorry, that's not very funny. That would be kind of horrifying, actually.
Well, and to set the scene a little bit as well here, they were again in a Russian apartment building in this communist style building that had not been renovated for probably 60 years.
Oh my gosh.
So the elevators were basically just these like wooden boxes inside these concrete buildings.
Wooden?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
they're wooden. The majority of them were wood. And they usually stank. They, yeah, you could just smell the person who'd been in there before.
Oh
Not
my
good
gosh.
ventilation. Like there was, yeah, you couldn't get out the top. Like, in the movies where these people kind of get out the top of these elevators, like in these heist videos, there's no way to push open the top because it's basically just this wooden box.
Wait, I
No way
didn't
to push out the
understand that.
side.
So the doors wouldn't open?
No, the doors wouldn't open in between floors, so they couldn't open the doors. And what I meant was the top. So you think about these like heist movies
Uh-huh.
of people like pushing up the ceiling of an elevator and crawling out the top.
Oh, okay. I
There,
see what you're saying. So there's no like panel on top to get up through
there's
the
no
top.
panel. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
just there's so they're essentially trapped with absolutely no way to get out. And these buildings, it's hard to describe these cities and these buildings. A lot of times they're very empty.
Uh-huh.
As soon as Latvia joined the EU, there was a huge exodus of Latvians out and into mostly Ireland, and so you had people living in these buildings, but there was a lot of them that had empty apartments, like no one lived in them. And so really there wasn't like this influx. You think of like New York of people going in and out of buildings all the time. That that's not the case. And so I mean you could enter a building and no one would enter for hours.
So there was
No one would try to use the elevator for
a
hours.
lot of empty real estate because of the exodus of
Mhm.
of the people into Ireland. Okay.
Yep. And
Hmm.
especially in Liepaja, they had iron industry, they had sugar, and as soon as they joined the EU, a lot of these people just left. And so
Hmm.
Liepaja was especially hit hard. A lot of these jobs, these other countries could pay better, and so they just left. So Liepaja, and you guys could look this up if you really want to, you can see the population decline right around the time that they got accepted into the EU. It was very drastic. So anyway,
So there's nobody coming
there's
to help out.
not, yeah, it's very unlikely that someone was going to come and help them. Just the way that, and if they did and they found out the elevator wasn't working, then they would just use the stairs. It was probably pretty common. The elevators are just like these old fashioned things
Uh-huh.
that, you know they just go and use the stairs. um
So they're stuck
so
there.
they're stuck, yeah. And there's no emergency button. I mean, there's no way to contact anybody other than yelling through the like,
The
just
wall.
yelling.
Just yell through
Yeah,
the
just
concrete
yelling through
wall
the
or the
wall,
wooden doors.
the little crack where the door is
Oh my
in between
gosh.
floors. And so they call us to, we need to be rescued. And so we get off the tram at the next stop and then get on another tram going the other direction, just
To
straight
go
back.
back.
So, I mean,
Huh.
all in all, it was probably about 10 to 15 minutes before we were back in the same area that we'd left them.
Hmm.
So that's kind of a good thing. We knew where they'd gotten off. And in the course of this phone call, I just remember I was the district leader at the time, and you're supposed to mark and keep track in your planner what buildings that you've knocked on and what you have contacted.
Hmm.
And so I asked them, okay, what building are you in? And they hadn't done it. And so they didn't know what building
Oh
they were in.
no.
They had just walked off in the dark, had just randomly, picked a building and gone in. And these Russian domes, they all look the same. They're just concrete blocks.
They all look the
And so
same.
there's
And there's so
nothing
many
is
of them probably.
yes, and nothing distinguishable about them necessarily. In this instant, though, they remembered kind of the style of the handle of the door they had gone in. And so we got off on this stop and just started walking in the direction that they had said. And we, just walked. We probably, I don't know, a quarter of a mile, maybe half of a mile in, we found this building with a door that seemed like it fit the description of the handle that they had described. And
uh,
so we're like, okay, we'll try this out.
uh,
Pull on the door and it's locked.
uh-huh.
Another feature of these Russian domes is they've got these 10-digit paneled locks with these little, how would you describe it?
Like a key panel.
Yeah, it's a keypad, but they're old fashioned, so it's not electronic a lot of times. In this case, it's not electronic. They've got these little pill buttons with usually a number code sequence that you have to press all at once. So say it's like 109, you'd click all three buttons at once and then open the door.
Oh,
They're just metal buttons, and this combination would open the door.
gotcha.
And so if you didn't know the code, you couldn't get in the building. And so as a missionary, you got pretty darn good at knowing the secrets of how to find out these codes. So you could kind of look down, peer down, see which ones had bigger gaps in them, see which ones wiggled a little bit more. And so that's what we did. We just like looked down at this lock, started wiggling,
Trying to see which ones had been pressed the
wiggle.
most.
Yep, pressed it. Oh yes, we got it open.
Oh,
It was just like, and I mean, it probably took us a couple of minutes to do it. It wasn't all at once because you had to try a couple of them, but we got the right sequence and we got in. And so we go over to the elevator, and just immediately, as soon as I got in, I could hear these two missionaries like chat. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but you could hear them like all excited and kind of probably a little nervous. And I was like, yes, we got the right building. Like and that's kind of the first miracle. We found the actual building. We got into the building.
oh.
We were able to find them. And so we go up. They were between like the third and fourth floor. We go up the stairs to find like kind of the general area that they're in, and we're like, "Hey, we found you!" Like,
they're probably relieved that you found them.
Yeah, they're relieved. They're in the dark. They can't see anything.
Oh,
They've got
so
like
it's dark.
Yeah, it's dark too. They got this little Nokia phone that they're kind of using to see.
So there's no light. So just to recap,
there may be a little bit of light, but in general,
but basically they're stuck in a box with very little light,
very dim light. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
Yep, and we found them, and I mean, just out of all of the apartment complexes that we could have gone into, we actually found them, and they all look the same. They didn't know the number. I mean, we just kind of walked. It was the first one that we tried. We got the lock open. After trying it, it had been locked. Got the lock open, went inside, and they were in there. And we're like, "Oh yes, okay, we found them." So first problem solved. We knew where they were. Like they're not going to be spending the night. We're not going to be having to go through all of these like complexes trying to find them all night long.
Uh-huh.
And remember, it's 6:00. So, I mean, we have a limited amount of time to get home before, I mean, we obviously would have stayed and tried to
help them,
find them if we needed to. We would have just like, well, it's 10 o'clock. We got to go home now.
Yeah.
Well, we're breaking the rules. So anyway, but we found them. So that's kind of like the first thing. We are like, okay, are you like, okay? Like, doesn't feel like shaky or anything. It's not going to like drop and fall. Okay. Next course of action. How are we going to get this open? Like, there's no contact inside the elevator that they can see to contact in like a repairman to come and repair it. And so we just start knocking doors, just like we're contacting. And in our mission, I can probably count on the amount of times I actually knock doors in my mission. So something like if I were in that companionship, that's just something I would not have done. As an activity of proselyting and finding people to teach, because I can count the amount of times on my hand that I actually knock doors to try to find people, and maybe once or twice did anybody actually open their door to have me proselyte and teach a lesson. Just instilled in their bodies and in their very souls is just negative feelings about anybody coming, especially at night, knocking on doors. They just do not open their doors. I'm very suspicious, and that's a byproduct of the Cold War and the Soviet era.
That makes sense.
The Latvians did not open their doors. So we're knocking. Second miracle. Maybe like the fourth or fifth. It wasn't the first one. We went up a couple of floors. Somebody opened the door. Like, it just does not happen. They do not open the door for missionaries or for anybody. This older woman opened the door. And we're like, okay, yes, we are missionaries. We're not proselyting. We're just trying to find a way to help our friends who are stuck in the elevator. Please don't close the door on us. Like,
of course.
This is not like an American missionary trick. We need help. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Americans and your tricks.
Like, yes, this is not like a missionary trick. We're not being wily. Please just help us. Like, we need some sort of contact or some sort of person that we can reach. To help us to get these missionaries out, or our friends to get out to get out of the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of the third miracle. She's like, "Oh yeah, this happened to my neighbors just the other like 2 days ago.
Oh.
I was the one that called to get it repaired. I have the number right here." And she
Oh,
has this,
of
she like
course.
literally like turns to the side on her fridge and pulls out a piece of paper with the number on it. She
Oh,
has it prepared. She is the exact person that had the number
ready to
for the
call.
repairman to give to us. And
Ah.
so she's like, "Here, I'll give you this. I'll give him a call because I called him the other day." And I think she gave us her number as well. And she called him, and the guy on the phone's like, "Okay, I'll be there in a little bit." So we're like, and then she closes the door. And that's like the last we see of her. She gives us her number, like if we need extra help or if the guy doesn't come,
Hmm.
we get his number in case he doesn't show up as well. And we go back down to the other elders and are like, "Okay, we got a solution. This old lady opened the door for us. She called this guy to come in and repair the elevator to come to get it open."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we go down the stairs, the door's closed, um, and we're sitting there waiting for this. And these are like heavy doors too, by the way. Like you think of like communist Russia, everything's heavy, everything's heavier the closer you get lead lined. Close the door, it clunks shut, you know it's shut. We're sitting there waiting to allow this individual into the building so that he doesn't have to guess the code. Okay, so we're kind of talking up the elevator shaft to the missionaries, like, everything okay, just checking in on them,
Mm-hmm.
and then keeping an eye on the door as well, so that this guy doesn't have to try to guess the code. So we see this guy coming up the stairs. It probably took about 45 minutes to an hour for him to finally show up. I mean, he's just some on call, elevator repairman at 7 o'clock at night now.
Uh-huh.
Makes it there eventually. And I remember he just opens the door, like just full on just opens it. Like we don't open it for him. He just opens the door, and we just like look at each other like, "Okay, that was weird." Was it
So
unlocked the
just
whole
to
time?
clarify, he opened the door without the code that you're referring
Without the
to.
code, he just opened it. And we were like, "Okay, maybe we were just being dumb and it was unlocked the whole time." Okay, but we'll give it like the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, he's this big burly, probably like 6'6", big guy, bearded, and just walks in. And we're like, hey, thank you for coming. Can you help us? And he just ignores us and like walks by, like
What?
opens, like manually, like opens the doors,
With
like
his
these are
hands?
like, like, and we're just like,
What?
we're just like staring. And then he like sticks his head in and is like, looks up the shaft to see where they are, like doesn't address us at all, like says nothing to us, no grunt, nothing, just goes right by, opens the elevator doors, just rips
Hmm.
them open and sticks his head up the shaft and looks up.
Okay.
And we're like, "Oh, that was weird." Like, and he's not addressing us either. Like, you think that somebody, just a normal person would say something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then he sees where the elevator is and starts going up the stairs to the third floor. And we stay at the bottom. We're just like, "Okay, we'll just stay out of his way. He's being kind of weird." And we hear him. He's got like a little crowbar as well. Goes up. We can hear him put the crowbar into the other doors, and ding, and then like the doors open. We hear them open, and
Oh.
then these missionaries that are halfway between floors. I hear. I just remember one of the elders is like, "Spanky." I just remember him saying that, like, "Hello," like.
Hello. Okay.
And they're in between floors, and so he opens it up. He has it open, opens it up. We don't see this. I'm just assuming by the noises, and I can hear them, and then by what they told me after, they're in between floors, and so they kind of climb up. They got to climb up to get out,
Out of the floor
and
because
this
it's
out
halfway.
of the
Mm-hmm.
out of the floor because it's halfway. They kind of wait there for a second because he gets out, or sorry, he doesn't get out. This guy, at this point, now that the doors are open and the elevator's halfway through, he goes up the stairs to, we assume, to where there's like a control box or something, and we can hear him going up the stairs. And
Mm-hmm.
then at that point, the missionaries are like, like the elevator doesn't go up, so the missionaries climb out. The other two elders climb out at that point. And in this like big building, we can kind of look up the stairwell and see where they are, and their like hands are there, and we can kind of see the guy as well going up the stairs.
Okay.
And like, okay, we'll wait for this guy and like thank him for coming and helping, right? Like, oh, this is like a missionary opportunity to contact. So he goes up the stairs, and then just kind of like the sound disappears, and then you hear like the elevator ding, and then like go up to the next floor, shut. We click it, see if it goes, and like great. So we wait for a little bit longer, and the guy like never shows up. He doesn't come back down the stairs. We might like wait for 5 minutes, and so we're like, what the heck is going on here?
Huh.
So, and these buildings, for the most part, have one way in, one way out. There's multiple like stairwells within building complexes, but you cannot access them through. You don't access them any other way except through the front door.
And you were
Seems like a
there.
real
You were
fire
sitting
hazard,
there at the
actually.
front door.
We were sitting at the very bottom, and so we know he did not leave through that door. There's one way in, one way out, and so we start running up the stairs just to get to the top. We're like not going to use that elevator again. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to use the elevator, and we know it's not used because we'd be able to hear it. Go up the stairs, still kind of at the third floor, go all the way up, and there's just these apartment buildings. There's 4 of them on each floor with numbers. There's nowhere that this guy could have gone. There's
So
no
he
like
just
outside
vanished.
access, no roof access. He's gone. He's just gone. He vanished. We didn't hear any doors open. Like it would be very weird if like he lived in the building he was coming to service just randomly. But
Yeah.
this guy just disappears, and then we're just like, we get like these big eyes, like no way. And then we think like maybe he took the elevator, so we like book it down the stairs, like in case he did. Don't hear the door open. Like I said, it's kind of open. You can look down and see if people are down there, and you would be able to hear if somebody opened the doors. In fact, if you were like knocking on doors, your heart would like sink if you hear the door open, because you really don't want to be like outside somebody's door knocking when they're coming up the stairs. So you can hear
Ah.
it. You can hear that front door open. It didn't ever open. Heavy door, you would hear it. And this guy's just gone. We go all the way to the bottom. He didn't go up. He didn't go down. Like, where is he? Like, that was so weird. So we go back up to the house with the lady that had opened the door for us originally, like on the 5th floor. Knock on the door. Quiet. Nobody's in there. Absolute quiet. Nobody answers the door. And we're like, this is getting so weird. Like, where did this guy go? Where did this lady go? We're like, okay, she gave us her number. Okay, let's call it. We call this number, and it doesn't exist.
So you just get like a dial tone, like a
Yeah,
or what?
well, not the dial tone. Like, this number doesn't exist, but in Latvian.
Oh my gosh, that is so weird.
And then we're like, we like, okay, let's go down. Like, that's so bizarre. We like exhausted basically all of our options to find this guy. I think we like kind of look up on the roof. Nobody's up there. There's no access, as far as I know, through that stairwell to the roof, unless it's through like somebody's apartment. But we didn't hear him open the door. Nowhere to be seen. We get on the tram and we're like, okay, let's call this service guy's number. Number doesn't exist.
What?
And we're like, what the heck? Like, no way. Like,
so she gave you 2 numbers that were wrong.
But we saw her call it, though. We saw her call this number. We know it worked. She called this number and talked to this guy.
That is so weird.
And we know it worked because she called him from from a number she called from earlier, supposedly.
In front of you, she called. She was on the phone in front of you.
Yes, she was on the phone in front of us.
Weird.
So we call this number, doesn't exist, and we're like, what the like? What just happened?
Huh.
And yeah, this guy just completely disappeared. And so did this woman, just completely disappeared. And so, I mean, we're like, we should record this message, like, just to prove that it didn't exist. Like, we know that she called this number. We saw her do it, and we saw her talk to this guy. And doesn't exist now. We had always speculated that this was one of the 3 Nephites, or John the Beloved, that the one of the apostles that had chosen to remain on the earth, because he just disappeared. He vanished. I know John was supposed to be the beardless one, but I imagine he eventually grew a beard. This guy was so burly and big, and just the circumstances were just so strange where this guy came, showed up, helped. This woman came, showed up, and helped, and they both just disappeared. I mean, we were in that building probably for 10 to 15 minutes after they had opened that elevator door,
Huh.
and that guy was nowhere to be found. One way in, one way out, no roof access. Just, I have no idea where he went.
Huh. But more likely it would be John, we think, because he had a beard.
Well, John was the beardless one, wasn't he, in the
Yes,
New
but
Testament?
it would be
He's
very
always depicted
peculiar.
as the beardless one.
Yeah, it would be very peculiar for a Jewish man not to have a beard.
Yeah, and maybe it was just because he was always. I mean, does it ever actually say in the scriptures that he was beardless, or that's just tradition
I
that
think
he's
it's just
drawn as being
tradition.
beardless,
Yeah.
or he was, or he was like young or something at the time, right?
Hmm.
Like at some point he probably grew a beard. So anyway, but yeah, this guy just turned up. I mean, mysteriously opening that door without pushing in the code,
Or
went
anything.
upstairs, disappeared, and said nothing.
Huh.
Said not a word, not a grunt,
And
nothing in
then
front of us.
just vanished without a trace.
Vanished without a trace.
And no phone number
Showed
to
up and
contact
helped
them
us.
with.
No phone number to follow up with. From a phone number, we saw work.
That's so
So
weird.
yeah. I mean, our minds were blown at that. We were just all looking at each other like with wide eyes, like what just happened? Like
Huh.
there's no, like, this is so bizarre.
Yeah. So what did this guy look like? He was 6 foot tall. He had a beard, but what else?
He was taller than that. I'm 6 feet. He was taller than me by probably a head. He
Six
was a
six.
big guy. Yeah, probably around 6'6". He had a beard. He's probably over 200 pounds.
Hmm.
It was the middle of winter, so he had a big coat on. I mean, other than that, I don't really remember a whole lot of distinguishing features. Um,
Hmm.
Other than being big. I mean, I couldn't even tell you if he looked, Latvian necessarily, and or Russian for that matter. And a lot of them have kind of
A distinct
a
look.
very a distinct look, right? And I couldn't tell you if it was or wasn't. So
Hmm. How curious. That's so interesting. It makes you wonder. It does. It seems like they were in the right place at the right time to help out, both the lady and the man.
and then to mysteriously disappear, both of them. We got her to
Uh-huh.
answer the door the first time, and then she wouldn't do it the second time.
Yeah.
That seems
And the phone
that
number
seems
didn't
weird,
exist.
right?
But regardless of whether or not these people were perhaps resurrected individuals or some divine people, we don't know if that's the case or not. But regardless, there was a series of miracles leading up to this event that would enable you to get the missionaries out of the stuck elevator.
Right, right. Small miracles that normally wouldn't happen. I
Yes,
mean, the chances of, I, I mean, us finding the apartment complex, getting that lock open, no matter how good we were at opening the lock. Sometimes you couldn't. You just couldn't open them, no matter how good you were,
that
and you
makes
just moved
sense.
on. But this time, we just happened to be able to get in, found the right building. We got someone to answer a door when
Nobody answers
almost
doors.
never anybody would answer a door. So
Wow, that's crazy. There's things, and you just wonder because some people just seem different. I don't know if that's a phenomenon that other people have experienced on their missions. Um, but I know that I did meet some people, and I wondered, maybe there's something more to them than meets the eye.
right. I
You
mean,
know,
at the time when we saw this guy, there was no, like, you know, manifestation necessary that he was anything more
different
than
than
just a man. But definitely at the end of it, though, there was, I mean,
something
even
different.
still, there's
Yeah,
some questions in my mind that can't be explained by somebody that would be mortal. So it seemed anyway.
yeah. But I mean, he didn't talk to you either. He was just
Mm-mm.
straight there, just straight to the elevator, and then disappeared.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know how a resurrected being would interact with missionaries, but
It says in Hebrews that there are some of you who have entertained angels unawares. So
yeah.
something to that effect. I should look up the exact wording of the scripture, but it says that some of you have entertained angels unawares, something to that effect.
It does make me wonder how long they would have been in there if under normal circumstances. By no means. I mean, Monday night after hours, what are the chances that somebody's just going to be on call to come and open an elevator?
Yeah.
Right. So and this was actually part of the story that I had forgotten to say, was that when that lady had talked to us about her calling for some neighbors that had gotten caught in the elevator, she said they'd waited for like 3 hours or something. And so we were prepared to be there late, and this guy came probably within 45 minutes. Like we weren't waiting for that long. So after hours on a Monday night, somebody came to fix the elevator, and it was faster than the first time. So
very interesting. That's a really fascinating story. I didn't know all the, you had told me some details about this story previously, but I didn't know other things, such as
it's hard to get them all.
Yeah, such as the fact that the elevator was made out of wood, for example, and there's very little light for another thing.
Yeah, very dim. I don't know what, yeah, I just remember the first time I went into an elevator, I was scared that it was going to
break down
the minute I got it. It's not surprising that it happened. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
Well, is there anything else that you can think of about this story?
Not really. I just remember that we had talked about it at district meeting the next time we were together, or just that was so weird.
That is weird.
We told the other missionaries about it and what happened, and we're just this is unexplainable. We don't know what happened to this guy.
I thought of a question. How tall are the apartment buildings generally?
Oh, I would say 7 to 8 stories.
So not enormous, not like a huge high rise, or just a small kind of apartment building.
Well, I wouldn't say, I don't think 10 stories is necessarily small either. 8, when I say 7 to 8, it's typical, right? These cookie cutter Russian apartment complexes
buildings. My point is that it's smaller in the sense that you would be able to hear up and down because it's made out of concrete, and it's small enough that you can hear all the way up and down.
It's open, the floors, the stairways in such a way that you could, like I said, you can see up the staircase. It's not like you're going between floors and opening different doors. It's all open all the way to the top.
Gotcha. And then around the perimeter are the doors.
Yep, exactly.
Gotcha. I think I've seen something similar to that. Interesting. If you have a similar story, make sure to fill out our form in the description. I have a Google form there where you can tell us about your experience on your mission, whether it be something particularly spiritual or miraculous. We want to document it here on Rise Zion. The form will have basic questions such as your contact information, what happened on this experience, the date of the experience, and your mission companion. We want to be as accurate as possible. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Thank you for watching Rise Zion. Before you go, I have an important ask. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Our goal is to help fortify people's faith by providing some empirical evidence of God's hand in their life. However, if people can't find our videos or our channel, then our mission isn't accomplished. By liking and subscribing, you'll be helping us in this important mission. Thank you again, and until next time, bye.